Welcome to the Devils Podcast. I'm HeYamin,
I'm Andromeda.
and we have here with us,
Richard Crow.
and he's a friend of ours and magician that we know very well, and he he's a part of Circle of the Dark Mother and many other things, many other things, and we'll get into that. Uh, yeah, and so welcome. Thank you very much for
Yep.
joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, let's just dive into the questions. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how did you get to being the magician you are now?
It's a long story. Uh, so I grew up in a home where my grandmother was a practitioner. She provided spiritual services for folks. She come from a family-based tradition. I grew up as a child in a home where, practices were happening around me all the time. Clients were coming to the house. Oil lamps were burning. Gree bags were being dropped. Things were happening. Things were manifesting. Uh, so I grew up my whole life in magical practice. I'm a third generation practitioner for my family line. And then I started exploring other forms of spirituality. At 12 years old, I was expected to take confirmation with the church. So I met with the bishop and we sat down together and he handed me a pamphlet and he said, "Hey, I want to show you this pamphlet." So we started going through it, and in the description there was a description about witchcraft and being able to get all your earthly desires and all the passions to manifest all the things you want in your life. I said, "Man, it sounds like a pretty good deal. How do I get involved with this?" And, that was my direct question. That didn't go too well. Uh, but my family was heavily involved with the church, but they were all practitioners, so they would connect with the communities and the churches. Most of their clients came out of the church after Sunday service, so we were not shy to put things to work. So then I went on a journey. I went seeking things out. So I got connected with a woman in Hamilton, Maryland. Her name is Anita. She used to work through the churning wheel in Nottingham, Maryland. So I got involved with her coven, and I was involved with their coven probably about 2 or 3 years. I met a guy by the name of Lewis Painted Pony. Got involved with their little community up in Pennsylvania. Uh, and along that way, I met a guy named Jose Riviera, and he still is a Palo Mayombe priest and an active practitioner. And I realized that he was doing things that I've never seen before. And I started asking him. I said, "Bro, what are you doing? I'm interested to figure out what you got going on here because this is pretty potent." He was connected with the Atlantic Paranormal Investigations. So I traveled around with them during confirmation that there were things occurring in homes. So I started training under Jose Riviera. So I had not initiated at that time into Apollo, but I worked underneath him and until he released me to do my own work. Became really good friends, and then I went off into the world. Um, Backtracking a little bit, my interest in magic, even as a child, at 12, 13 years old, I was picking up grimoires. I was picking up manuals and manuscripts and reading through text and trying to find something a little bit deeper, more connected, more effective. If there was magic or sorcery, I wanted to find out about it. I wanted to explore those mysteries to the best of my ability. So I got connected to all kinds of things and ended up traveling around. I moved to South Dakota. I was involved with the Red Cloud family on Pine Ridge Reservation. I was involved with them for a time. and found myself drawn back to going back home because of family needs and because of other priorities. More exclusively, me having interests to focus primarily on the interest of getting initiated into Palo. So I started seeking that out and communicated with different people, developed relationships with the community, and then I got initiated into Briomba, uh, uh, Vidi Congo Sacampano. So I got initiated in that. I was an Engeo, Opinion Nuevo. Then I went to becoming a Tata, Tata and Kisi, um, Tata and Kisi Malongo, becoming Tata Naganga. And then I was able to receive my condemned. I did that, received my condemned, and then and me and my teacher decided to go in different ways. But I kept feeling drawn to look at Mayombe. My first teacher was a Mayambero. He did not do Bariumba. So I wanted to explore what that meant. So I sought out another teacher, part of the life of the journey of practice. So I found a teacher in college, spent several years. And then at a certain point, it was decisions to be made about what I should do moving forward. And I was heavily involved with Solomonic magic. I've done, groups where I've joined lodge traditions. I got initiated as a Freemason. I've got involved some of the magical lodge-based traditions. Uh, I've met with all kinds of crowds and got back involved in early 2000s. I got involved with the Wisteria pagan community, um, and then got involved with the activities happening in the Wisteria community. So I got involved with rituals and ceremonies, and I got to meet Oberon Ravenheart. We had some pretty good times together, and talked about the Church of All Worlds. And we celebrated around the fire and started going to summer solstices and dancing around the fires with witches, and started celebrating the Sabbaths, and got involved with that for a good time. So I've been kind of all over the place, but I've got to learn a lot of online things with a lot of really great teachers. I moved to Ohio to be involved with the Wisterian community. Purchased a 20-acre farm and started life out there with that for a time. And traveled to Columbus because I was looking for materials for a ceremony, and found Witch Lab. Uh, so I got to meet all the wonderful people at Witch Lab, and that kind of expanded from there. And then I met Mark because he had a Kabbalistic class, and I wanted to find out more about his practice because he was talking about opening up a group. So I got connected with him. Within a couple months, me and him decided, hey, I keep showing up, I might as well get involved. So I took all of his courses, took all of his classes, uh, got initiated with him, and then started finding out a little bit more about Lilith, and I started incorporating some of that into my practice, but not right away. It took some time. I actually didn't care at first about working with Lilith at all. That was secondary to me in my beginning stages. I was primarily concerned about Kabbalah and working it from the Q perspective. So I was interested in working magic from a magical perspective with Kabbalah, with Mark specifically. So I continued to work with him, and now I'm going to become the presenting elder of the tradition through the Circle of the Dark Mother. Actively been involved with him for 10 years now. So that's the short story of it. But any questions you got, I'd be glad to answer for you.
So you've pretty much got your fingers in everything over the course of your life.
I've gotten a little bit of exposure. I'm out here as a seeker and trying to learn, trying to experience, trying to engage and become more wiser, more effective with my magic. and that's the purpose that I want to uh, learn effectively, do things effectively, and help other people be effective in changing the courses of their life for their benefits. Because to me, magic is about causing change to conformity of leverage of your spiritual practice, meaning that you're exercising your spirituality to cause changes in your internal and external reality, which requires for you to actively engage, which means you become affected by the magic, and you do as much as the magic does to you. So it requires your entanglements. So it requires you to be engaged. So that's why I'm so adamant about exercising practical magic, because if it doesn't work, it's not worth using. Or you need to maybe reassess what you're doing in your practice to realign yourself with what you're trying to aim at and what you're trying to get. So the results are there. It's just to go out there and do it. So there's no excuses not to do it. So no better time than now, because you can't wait for the stars to be in alignment. There's no guru on the mountain that's going to perfectly fit your agenda, your comfort levels, and your capacity to be receptive. They don't wait for you. It's up to you. It's your work. It's your time. So that's the big part about it that I think is most important. It's your connections, your commitments, your vows, your development. So that's what it's about here.
No, I was just
Okay.
thinking like that's kind of been my approach since I entered in it. Just try to research and discover as much as possible and practice as many things as I can get my hands on. So that's very. I have a similar mind view of if it's out there, you definitely need to look into it and try, especially if you feel called to it. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. We eventually we start regurgitating all these teachers we learn from and all the things we experience, and so you're hearing kind of the same talks in a lot of ways from a lot of folks, and there's a reason behind it because they're telling you the truth, right? And so there's like a lot of really good teachers out there, and I think it's important to take in that knowledge from people that actually know what they're doing, and using discernment and being involved with people that really have their stuff together. You know what I mean? So it requires for you to actively get in there, figure people out, and figure out what they're going to provide to you and how they're going to make you better. Because anybody can proclaim that they're a teacher or an elder or a practitioner, but that doesn't define the fact that whether they're good or not. Are they good for you? Sometimes they can be the most excellent magician in the world, and they suck as a person. So at that point, you got to reassess where you spend your time, your efforts, and your energy. So filtering that out, making sure they're well-sourced folks, and see how the communities are, see how the elders in that tradition are, and take your time. Don't rush things. You know, don't be in a hurry. Just let it unfold naturally. Makes it easier.
So on that note, what is your goal in your magical work? Progressing as a wizard, sorcerer, conjurer, priest, or whatever you want to do.
My goal and my desires are to manifest magic around me and all those people that I keep in my circle. I want people to exercise magic at an Olympic level. I want people to be successful with their dreams, their desires, their ambitions. I want people to shoot for the stars and do work that is probably very far out there, and do the work to get there. So doing the mundane and the magical, the macro microcosmic enchantments to make it work. So doing the mundane things, but adding magic with it. You know a guy, right? So now it's time to engage that way. So yeah, being a practitioner is something that I think if you truly set out onto the road and you're sincere and you're honest and you're really putting the work in, I don't think that it's a part-time thing. I think it really is an immersed experience, and requires you to dedicate yourself just like any other art or practice. You to be an excellent musician, or to become excellent in any craft. I don't care if you're a woodworker Whether you're a mason, I don't care whether you are of any skill craft, an artist, what have you. It requires a certain stage of excellence. And I think magic is part of that as well.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense with your background of having so much that you're working on and you're learning and you're seeking to have the mindset of, it's like tuning the machine, you know. It's like it's like we're looking for the exact frequency that we truly want to resonate at. Um, and we're trying to get it to the point where we can, and especially for what I'm hearing from you, and I feel this. I totally resonate with a lot of this, but we're trying to amplify ourselves in a way that we can truly be to the point of not perfection, but reach what we're attaining.
Strive at excellence. You know, you're not going to give 100% every day. You might get 60-40, you might get 20-80, right? But if you're giving your 100% of that 20, guess what? You're doing something better than nothing, you know? So it's about it. You just got to put the time, effort, and energy in. So I think it's important.
Uh, well, I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit, and we'll come back to uh, questions about the community. Um, if you don't mind sharing, what is your biggest magical achievement you're comfortable with sharing with us?
I'm alive because of my grandmother saved my life with magic. Uh, when I was 3 years old, I was poisoned, left to die in the street. She recovered me in the street, put medicine on my head, had me taken to the hospital. They were expecting me to die, and I was in a coma for 3 weeks. And they were expecting me to live. So my grandma did some work on my head and took that negative energy off of me. And within a week, I was out of the hospital and back home. So it saved my life. So uh, I truly feel indebted to working magic to the best of my ability to get there, to get to where she was. So that's what I'm aiming at. Success, success, because it's why I'm alive.
That's really powerful.
There's a lot of successes and failures in my life with magic. So to say that one thing is greater than the next, it's a lifetime of experiences to really say what is the greatest. I've had situations where I've been turned down for getting properties and using magic to obtain properties. I've helped people with sickness and ailments. I've helped communities revive themselves from controversies for over 20 years. There were communities that were feuding in one another since the issues in the coal mines in West Virginia. And I united three different communities through using magic by gathering in these group sets of other magicians to try to change the environment where younger people would make changes in the community, which required for everyone to participate. And I stepped up, and it required for me to be present and to be cognitive about the decisions that I was making and who I was involving myself with. And then how do I present the magic to where people can be receptive and they come along the way with me. So that's been part of that is community engagement by that capacity. It's not what divides us; it's what unites us. So that's an important thing. So it's a requirement, I think, of human people to exercise their human behavior, and that's to live and thrive and build on each other's power to make each other stronger in their gifts and the things that they struggle with. We help them figure out how to either overcome those obstacles or learn to deal with them in a healthy manner. Where they regenerate themselves and become the best part of themselves as part of the process. Just because you know magic doesn't mean that you're going to be an excellent person. I've met some horrible people that practice magic, and those people could be watching. And I say I'm happy to see you too, because we're all in it together. You still need other folks to get by.
I feel like this question actually kind of aligns with the other question that we asked earlier. But how do you want to impact the community with magic?
I want them to not talk about doing it. I want them to actually do it and then make changes with the magic that they have. We all have different goals, different ideas, different visions. A lot of magical practitioners, everything's done behind a closed door, or it's off in the woods away, where people can't see what they're doing, which is perfectly fine. And sometimes there's a good reason for that. But I think it's important that we're using magic to shape the communities we live in, help build upon one another, and strengthen our unities. That's the big part with the Pagan Spirit Alliance groups. I think it's important that people in communities that are open to folks coming in. I do think initiation and private groups are important. Those things should thrive and exist in their own environment. I think geographically, certain things just are the way they are because the people in the environment choose for it to be that way, and that should be honored. But I also think that as community and as people, with having struggles and having others that want to come in, for them to be welcome is to open the door. So I think that's important too.
A question that's not on here. What with you know talking about communities and talking
Mhm.
about your work with, um, let's say, Circle of the Dark Mother, or
Good.
or Church of All Worlds,
Mhm.
to any aspect. What do you find your role in the community work is? Like, what are you bringing forward to, um, to the community aspect, to not just one community, but what are you trying to bring forth from yourself to these communities? What are you trying to do as a participant or member?
Finding out the people that want to be role models, that actually want to engage one another, what makes them tick, and why do they want to do it, and then explore what that why factor is, and then exercise that out in the world. I want people to embrace their personal power and use their magic to the greatest potential, to stress the limitations, to above and beyond. I care that people are reaching at soul level to get their aim for their stars, right? They manifest the things that they truly want in their heart, and bring about change inside themselves as well as the people that they surround themselves with. Because when we talk about community, it's not about one, it's about everyone collectively. That means you care about the well being. When you take on the role of a priest or a practitioner, that you're helping to aid, assist others, means that you care for the well, take on other people's problems. And so that means that you have to nurture yourself, family, your community, and then stand behind what you say and then do it. Don't come halfway. Don't be a weekend warrior. Show up and show out. I think that's a big distinct difference, and I've heard Oberon talk about this. I've heard other elders talk about this. It's not a matter of what you believe; it's a matter of what you do, and that's what distinguishes the difference between belief system structure and then tribal structure. Is that it requires your engagement about how you engage. What do you do with it? So you have gifts, you have talents, you have potentiality, that needs to be exercised. That's important to use the things that are in your hands, because it's in your power. It's just like any other advantage that people have, whether they're attractive, they're knowledgeable, they have a good hookup because of their family. Everybody has advantages. It's just how we're using those. And what's right for you might be wrong for me. So becoming a practitioner that has good moral and ethical standing, that other people can live a life by example. that others want to walk with you. So that requires for you to be sincere, to be truthful about what you do, and then go out there and do it. That's what I really think is important in these communities, that we're being sincere, or saying I don't know, or I need more help, or I need more knowledge, or I need more insight, or saying, hey, I know these things, let me help you. Let me bring you with me on this journey because I'm going there too. Having expectations that we're going to limit the range of our engagement is a trap. I think that we should shoot for the stars
How did you find out about Paulo and ATR traditions, and why did you find that to be something you wanted to progress in?
because it works. It's effective. It's something that's important because I called out to the spirits to help me, and they're the ones that responded most effectively. Um, Paulo is about working with the spirits of the dead and the forces of nature. There are things that matter, and that's the sun, the moon, and the dead. So what I'm saying to you is that everything in nature and connecting with our ancestors, connecting with the vibrations of the earth and all of its mysteries. It's a sacred action. It's sorcery that's materia. It's putting things to work. It's manifesting them into being because we are part of that cycle. We are part of the process, and just so happens the cultural identity of Paulo resonated because when I come calling and went to a padero and got my reading done appropriately and asked, "Is this a path for me? Is this something that's a potentiality?" And all was yes. So I actively engaged. So I immersed myself in it completely, learning under the feet of a teacher, showing up and being present, and paying attention to the details. Not coming from a place of what I already knew, it was coming to a place to understand what it is that makes changes, and it's communal. And although you're required to have a community because of the power of its practice. So it does work with raw material. It does work with nature, and it's very primal. It's very hot. It's very direct, and it's structured a certain way that you have to learn it by an elder. You do not learn Palo from reading books. You do not learn Palo from this playing imagination. It's very systematized. It's very structured. So you learn with an elder, you show respect to them, and find elders that have the knowledge that will actually teach you appropriately, and pay attention to how effective their rituals are. See how their life runs. Meet their god kids. See what goes into getting initiated. So that's the things that I would say about Paula. Why I went to it, because I had a calling that would not leave me alone, that I could not stay silent. I had to respond, which led me down the road to similar practices that I'm doing now. But I came to that for that reason. Which later on I went into other practices. Talk about that too. But more specifically, Paulo, it's a nature-based religion, and I think it's important that we acknowledge that, and more so not just a religion, but a way of life that comes from very specific regions of the world that's structured that way because of its evolution of where it comes from and where it came from Congo, Africa, into Cuba, and then descended into other regions of the world. So understanding its history, understanding the language, understanding the elder that you're communicating with and how they practice, how do they utilize their magic, how do they work their inkisus. That's important to find out. You place your head in your hands and the trust of someone. Placing your life in their hands is important because they're going to change the dynamic of your spirituality forever. So if you're called to do that, I think that it's a good path. You just have to find the right people to immerse yourself with because they're meant to be for a lifetime, not temporary, not momentarily. It's something that you dedicate yourself to because you become tied to it. and then you help another generation. So that's part of it.
And
That's what I'll say.
with that, like if there's people watching who don't necessarily have a direct path, or they're just beginning with witchcraft, or they're just learning, or they're just finding out about it. I don't know how they'd stumble upon the Devil's Podcast in that case, but someone who's just beginning on the path or doesn't understand exactly where they want to go or what they want to do. What are your
Mhm.
suggestions for those people, like people who are trying to find what they need and haven't yet?
Do a lot of research and investigate communities. Trust your intuition. Use your insight. Pray about it. Devote yourself to uh, understanding who you are in the world. What do you want to get out of life, and then how do you connect that with your spirituality to make movement in the physical world? So how does it motivate you, change you, and how is it affecting the outcome of your life? I don't think any path is wrong as long as you're following someone that's giving you appropriate instruction, and then you're executing good plans for your future, setting yourself up for success. And every step you take should be progress moving forward. You're going to stumble, and that's what the spirituality is there for you to be able to handle the situations when they arise. And so it's not to change your life that it's going to be so picture perfect and the grass is greener on the other side because you left a tradition to join a new tradition. No, if you seek that, then I think that's absolutely wonderful. That's where your spirit's guiding you, and seek that out wholeheartedly with well-sourced people. And finding good sources, we live in the age of information. It's easy to find information now. It's not like you have to be the seventh son of the seventh son. You don't have to give your pinky finger or sacrifice your dog. Not a requirement that you like take your child to the crossroads at midnight. It's pretty easy to find out information about where to get connected with spirituality. There's so many elders out there. There's so many people speaking out. You know, it's not lost. People just you just got to find the right. Find people. Go look for it. There they are.
Well, and with that, you've spoken a lot about the practicality of magic itself. What
Mhm.
would you say that really means to you? Like, what is your your definition and your actual like practice of practical magic itself? Like, how do you define that?
How do I find practical magic? Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, like
Like,
well, what you've spoken about the practicality of magic, like it having
mhm.
to serve a purpose. So what is
Right.
that? What exactly is that to you? Like how, like what is, if you have to give an example, what's an example? But what is the actual definition or usage of that?
Because of the type of practices that I do, because I come from like a mega model perspective that's very animistic in nature. My idea is that rituals and ceremonies are in harmony with the stages of your life and the due process, meaning that everything you do that you're trying to overcome, goal sets that are representations of your life, your rituals should exemplify that. They should replicate that, and then that should bring it into manifestation to change it in your reality, meaning that it's environmentally changing. It is spiritually changing, meaning that you change who your character is by due process of initiation. It transforms the energy body. It influences your mental trajectory. It changes your financial standings. It changes your potentiality. You look at what practical magic is. Practical is getting things done, getting things accomplished, coming to the finish line and then keep moving. So that's the idea here with magic, is that if you call out, and one of the great teachers that I work with, Frater Pro, he's told me, the communicate, commune, and connect. Those are the three. I think these are very vital tenets. Those are three important factors because if you don't have them, the authority, the access, and the accountability are lacking because you don't have those accesses. So they're all keys, right? It's opening potentiality with success. So success is about accomplishing what the goal in mind is and then achieving that task. So, what is successful? Um, the success is a building block, right? One thing leads into the next thing that leads into the next thing. How do I learn magic? Okay, well, then how do you do magic to be better at more magic or to connect to spirits that then connect you to more effective spirits? If you can just light a candle and pray with some sage and that's all you got, man, you don't really have a plethora of a toolbox yet. You're just getting started. You're just warming up the seat, and it's like I want to avoid the arm magician practices. Like if you want to be a scholar, you want to be an academic, there's nothing wrong with that. I do a lot of academic research. I do a lot of research on personal. I've studied with professors in these fields of magic. I communicate with these people all the time, trying to learn different things and reading manuscripts and, seeing what our forebears laid before us to where we could walk in their shadow, which can be a benefit. And it can also create obstacles that they dealt with. So you have to look at the long stretch. How do I improve my skills where they become simpler? How is it that we create and establish communication and, we light a candle and nothing comes when we call? And that has to do with a lot of factors. One of them is consistency in the mechanics. And I think that if we have strong mechanics in our spiritual practice with consistency, we will start harboring result. So that requires a lot of effort. And sometimes you just need more momentum to stand behind your actions to get them to manifest. So yes, this is the reason why I keep striving to become a better magician because I'm alive because of it, and I seek it out because I want to be as good as the one that came before me. I want to be excellent. I want to proceed. I want to proceed forward on the ancestors that came before me that practice. I'm doing better than they are, and then I want the next generation that I teach become even better than me. I want them to know as much as I do and get better than me so they can be successful. And so I'm going to keep striving, pushing forward so people can come along with me. So I think that's the real factor there is that I want success, that, you don't live simple lives, you live extraordinary. To where, to say, well, somebody's having an excellent life out there, or we're living somebody else's dream. Why? Why aren't you living the way you want to? And that's your choice. Look at that. Do something about it. So time to boss up. Time to get up off your backside and make things change. You want them that way, do something about it. Do it in the mundane and the magical. If you got to go to school, if you have to, make the steps of due process that are in the state of your development. So that's a requirement. You follow those methods because if you don't, you're not getting anywhere. You're just playing with your imagination. So you got to get over the of thinking that imagination is wrong. No, it's a very strong skill. It's part of your psyche and part of the power that's within you. You are a spirit that is possessed by a body. So you're possessed by a spirit inside your own vessel. So we are constantly in a state of evolution with our own spiritual process. So we're possessed but elevating in the process. We're changing the conditions. We're changing the environment in which we live in. This is all magic.
I've found that if I'm not actively seeking and searching, a lot of times these beings and spirits will come seeking me, and they can actually create quite a bit of havoc in my life if I'm not doing the things I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, if I'm not doing something I'm supposed to be doing, the spirits usually show up and kick me in the ass.
Yeah. Yes.
Redirect my focus, and I start to question, what do I need to change? What do I need to affect? What do I need to do? more excellent, or how do I help aid the situation? Because it's not always about me. A lot of times it's about other people. You know, people come to me asking me for help or assistance. I got to be able to provide yesterday's problems with a solution. And that's the responsibility of a priest, is that he has the capacity to reach into that person, help them be heard, seen, and recognized, and then be able to influence what their solution should be. So they have to be able to manipulate that to make changes. So it's a requirement that a priest is capable of making those changes inside his own life or her own life, priest or priestess, can change the course of their reality to help shape other people's lives, because otherwise you're just some schmuck, you know. So you got to be better than a schmuck. You got to be excellent. So no better time than now.
Why is paganism important to you?
I mean, this world is where we live. You know, this whole environment that we're around is my temple. You know, even where I'm sitting right now, I'm not separate from nature. I'm not separate from the gods. I'm not separate from the demons or the angels. It's just layers of energy, of subtle energy shifts that are different dimensional spaces. And so I recognize that I'm an observer, you know, recognizing the changes of the season, how it affects the psyche, how it affects the consciousness, how it affects the stages of our lives. You know, as a friend of mine has stated, that we go through the many seasons of our lives. So this goes out to Brand. Much love to you, brother. If you see this, because I'm sure you will, we get shared this Dark Mother. He shared the idea with me that, you know, we have the seasons of our lives. We have the springs of our lives and the summers of our lives, and then the winters of our lives. So we go through all those stages because it's a natural part of our process. You know, we live, we die, and we go off into the vast mystery that we create as human beings. So I think paganism is a living example of that. I think it's getting to the roots of things that make us naturally connected to the forces that inhabit our lives every day.
Yeah, I think we as humans carry um, aspects that the deities and the spirits and beings that call to us appreciate, and I think we come into those life with those aspects for a reason, so that we can carry out certain specific tasks and create connections and help other people.
Yeah, it's animistic. It's nothing separate from everything else that surrounds us. You know, we're connected to all of it, and that's why we influence that with magic, because it's our environment. We're part of that environment. You know, knowing your neighbors. You know, most of my neighbors know that I practice. You know, they hear me. You know, people see me. I even have people come up to me even in my workplace. Oh, I've seen you on YouTube and I know about you. I'm interested to learn about paganism and, you know, dark Gnostic traditions, and I want to know about what you got going on. So, you know, it's out there. People see you. I'm not unrecognizable. I'm not hard to find. I'm easy to find on YouTube, and I'm easy to find on, you know, social media platforms.
So, what is the importance of getting out the true message about paganism, witchcraft, and magic of any kind to people who don't know about it yet, or also who look at it in a derogatory way?
I can't worry about people that look at things in a negative light, because that's always going to be there. So I don't worry about that. I don't live my life in fear. I don't worry about people that have disposition. I smile and pray for those people to come to their own awareness about themselves more than being concerned about me. That we build a better world together and we move forward because of our differences and our similarities. Not that I really worry about those things, beyond me taking action to protect the people that have spiritual practice, that need the protection or want the protection. So I say blessings to them that they come to their own solutions that only help other communities in their own way to become the best part of themselves, to help other children and other people in their path grow and focus on that, and then make changes in their environment, which requires them to be better people. So I can worry about the bad. I can only worry about the people that are interested to come onto the path, that seek my guidance for me to help them. And that's how I have to direct my focus. Is that people looking for spirituality will find it. Who they're meant to be connected to, when they reach out for it, they will find what they need. It might take longer than some. Sometimes they find that teacher that connects with them forever, and they stay with them forever. Sometimes people just have their comings and goings, and sometimes you're fair weather. So I can't stand in a place thinking that everything's going to stand picture perfect, because it doesn't exist. We live in a world of diversity. We live in a world that people are looking for acceptance and wanting to be tribal, meaning they connect to their own people and they stand by that because that's who they commit themselves to. And I think it's a natural part of our brain as human beings. It's to be part of a tribe, a community, a network of people that are like us. And I think that goes into every community. And so when you find that and have a stronghold and a real connection with other people, I think that then you then begin to do work to keep that tradition, that lineage, and that practice intact. So it requires your involvement. And so that's where magic comes into play. When people are seeking paganism, there's a vast umbrella of spiritual practices out there. So, first, investigating what are your values and what are your morals, and how are they in harmony with your life, and how you become successful as a human person as you grow. And then you follow the stages of development within that spiritual practice from the cradle to the grave. It should have in that spiritual practice a way to cope, deal, heal, and process that information that makes you a vertical human being, meaning that you're capable of reception, projection, and reception. So if you don't have those things, there's pieces missing that you have to fill in. And a lot of times that's why people go searching and searching and searching and never find what they need. I think that's a big part of it, is that there are pieces missing in their training, or there's practices that they haven't found that are successful for them yet. And when you find that teacher, you find that practice that's suitable for you, that fulfills you, you stop seeking and you start working with what you have in your hands. And that's where real magic starts happening, is that the guru is not waiting for you. You have to become the person that you want to be, and you have to engage that and change that for yourself, because no one's come to save you. You have to save yourself. And that's the biggest lesson that I've learned in my life, is that no one's going to always give you everything you want. So you have to do things to make change in your favor. So use your brain, use your own autonomy, exercise your own decision making, not because of groups suggesting it to you, but because you're choosing them for your own betterment. So I would say look in those directions of logic, reasoning, and education. So understanding who and what you're getting involved with, and make sure that you're comfortable with doing things that you're involved with. And if you're not, find somebody that you can resonate with, and then go do them.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think a lot of times the fear that people have is because they don't understand what's actually going on. Like, there's oftentimes stories that create fear in people, and they grow up with these stories, and so they're taught, like, don't touch it, don't look at it, don't think about it. If someone else is doing it, no, they're not. Pretend like it's not happening. And when you actually start researching and delving in and gaining the knowledge, you start to lose your fear. Because I know I started out as a very devout Christian,
Mhm.
and when I first came into this practice, it was all light, you know, uh, very light and love and very gentle. And then I started researching more and coming across more things, and now I'm over here on the other side, left hand path, really delving into like the darker aspects and practicing necromancy and working with the dead. And
Hmm.
it's just because I read, I researched, I listened to podcasts and stories, and uh, followed people on YouTube and social media that taught me and showed me that it's actually not something to be afraid of. It's just darker. I know Hollywood has this trope of, dirt and bones and all of that is of the devil and it's evil, but in reality it is, we're literally made of soil. We're clay. And so
Hmm.
you literally carry those aspects within yourself, and it's not anything to be afraid of. To be afraid of it is to be afraid of your base nature.
Yeah, I think part of that too is that that mythos becomes a life in its own, and it manifests a form of reality. Even if it is illusionary, it becomes its own manifesto. That comes into being because people have created that consciousness of it. So it takes on a life form of its own. It becomes its own egregore. It becomes its own manifestation. What people create, the power of the mind and the cognitive internal and external world that we shape is like Play-Doh. And I think that it unfolds that way because our psyche has like a form of morphic resonance on the spiritual level that our predecessors built within our psyches, that is part of our makeup, our genetic and our imprinted environmental conditioning, as well as what we're initiated into, what we're engaged with. The spirits that came before us that guide us are going to give us direction based upon their level of understanding or their own agendas. So what is good for Grandpa 25 years ago when he was alive, that he experienced as a child, he's going to tell you why everything in your life is wrong, right? Now, if it's information that you need that's going to improve your life and you follow that direction, then good business, good exchange. But when you're talking with elderly women that have passed in the graveyard, and they're telling you, well, you probably just need to go to church and things will get better. So it's one of those things where you have to understand who you're talking to, understanding what you're communing with, understanding what the agenda or what the goals are that you set in place. Don't make weak, plain goals. Make successful goals. And what I mean by that, make your plan and then execute that plan and do it. So then the practice when we talk about necromancy, I think that people get an illusion that you're going to go robbing graves and digging bones, and what you do in your own practice. I say, be careful. Understand who you're connecting with and what you're doing. Understand the processes of how to handle those things with elders that know what they're doing. I'm not going to say anything incriminating, but those things happen in the world. Um, is it something that I would suggest? Probably not. Especially for people that don't know what they're doing. Being respectful to the dead, honoring your dead, creating the hero stories of grandma and grandpa, and honoring them and keeping them alive through your memories. Um, you know, Connecting with them to improve the current state of your condition because they can see further than you can. Then I would say, make that happen. Some of the most well-known practitioners that I've connected with are, very devout Christians, but they go to church on Sunday, but you go Friday, Saturday night, they might be in that graveyard. So you might want to be careful who you're creating problems with. So be respectful to your elders, that kind of thing. It's simple things. These things are not complicated. They're really to the point.
Where do you see your path leading you? Like, where do you see what you've been doing, where you've come from? Where do you see where do you want it to go, and where do you see it leading you?
Um, Eventually, I want to teach full time. I want to be teaching courses to folks about doing magic because I would like to be. a full-time practitioner. I know that's going to be later in life, because of retirement plans and responsibilities as being a partner and taking care of life. It's just part of it. You know, what I would like to see come into being is that people recognize that they're not separate from their magic, that they can actually exercise that and then take it out in the world and use it. Like the whole time we've been on this talk, it's been about, go do something with what your desires are. And along the way, you will figure it out. If you don't know right now and you step out onto the road and you start doing work, you'll come to the realization of who you are in time. Sometimes people don't figure it out because they're not seeking it in a way that's transformative, or when things get hard, that's when things start unfolding.
That's quite beautiful too, and that kind of leads into, one of my final questions, is what is your message with everything you've experienced in life, everything you've done magically, everything you've learned. What is your message so far in your life for the magical practitioner just starting, or the ones that are, you know, fully fledged, or what have you? What is
I'd say that you should learn what magic is for you for it to be effective, and then you go take that out in the world and make changes with those people that you surround yourself with. As we began with this, I'll keep circling back to that. My message is that we should understand that it's nothing separate from our everyday lives, that you're just conscious about the decisions that you're making. You're not walking through life blindly. So being aware and being enlightened and being insightful, and being aware that the things that you want to bring into fruition, you should do something about it. The world you live in is the way because you're living in it. So you choose to continue walking that way. You continue to have the same desires. You're probably going to get the same results. It's the definition of insanity, expecting things to change. You're doing the same things, right? So we have to come to realization that, we need to normalize our actions in the sense that we recognize that we're not separate from our magical practices. We just need to engage them and then do something with it. So get out of the armchairs, quit sitting down and doing nothing, do something with your life, go out there and get it.
That's beautiful. Well, did you have anything you?
I don't have anything else to
Okay.
add.
Did you have anything before we, get into the closing? Did you have anything else you wanted to share or say, or even some way to contact you, or something you wanted to plug, social media or anything?
Sure, you can reach me at Richard Crow on Facebook and Instagram. That's the best way to get a hold of me. I'm active in Messenger. If people are interested to find out more about what I do outside of this interview, contact Mark H. Williams through the Circle of the Dark Mother. I'm proactive through the Discord. If people want to meet and greet there, want to get involved with community there, I'm involved with the Gray School. I'm on the Gray School Discord. I'm involved with a lot of different types of communities, so I've met people along the way. So I'm easy to be found. If you're looking for me, I'm not hard to reach. But yeah, I do look forward to what comes ahead for the Circle of the Dark Mother. Taking on some responsibilities and, kind of lessening the impact for all the responsibilities Mark's taking on. I'm kind of looking forward to helping him out. And, I've stepped into some of the mentoring classes, helping teach some of the sections so that eventually I'll start mentoring people more and more as we go. to where I'm taking on mentor leadership roles, which I have been, but it's going to be a little bit different dynamic. When people are coming in, my intention is to figure out exactly what they want. Are they there for social camaraderie? Are they there to become priests? Are they there just to engage with another magical community? What is it that they're seeking? Being recognized as a nest through the Church of All Worlds. It's a place for people to come together to of all walks of life, different spiritual paths, where they can come and share their experiences as well as us celebrate our unique differences. So it's an opportunity for us to grow together in big as well as people from all walks of life. Our group is quite a vast array of different folks. I come from, ceremonial magic, I've been in lodge magical traditions to, Solomonic groups to, now primarily working with Saint Cyprian and a couple other practices. So I'm really active with that. So, some left-hand path groups, as well as people recognizing that we're here together. We're in a world working together. So that's happening as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Glad to answer them.
And thank you again so much, Richard, for doing this interview. And we could definitely, I mean, I know for a fact we could easily go on for longer and longer. And there's such a wealth of knowledge that you have that, if you ever want to come on again, definitely be glad to have you. Because there's so much more we could cover. There's tons of information we could easily get into.
Barely scratch the surface.
Barely scratch the surface. So thank you very much as well. Thank you. I'm glad to have you on. If you like this episode, please give it a like. Subscribe if you want more content like this. We put one of these out every Mondays and Fridays around 2 Pacific time. All of the links for anything are in the description box below. We'll get the information from Richard so we can put his links down there too. That's on YouTube and Spotify. I don't know if it will be on Amazon and on the Apple Podcasts though. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm sure if you have questions for Richard and you just want to ask him in the comments, I'm sure he will see them and he will reply. If you want to get a hold of him, he gave his contact information, and we'll have stuff to be able to get a hold of him and contact him. So, does that cover everything?
Yeah. Ask questions.
Oh, yes, ask questions.
Be curious. Always be curious.
There's nothing about the magical practice that isn't curiosity.
You have to be curious.
You have to be curious. So, as always, to close this out, thank you very much. And the darkness in me sees and honors the darkness in you. This has been the Doubles Podcast.